Welcome back to Dungeon Master's Design Discussion. Tonight we're going to talk about uh, my Kobold design for my campaign setting and Dogs of Third Earth yeah, that I did for Thundercats. So me and my daughter could play. Do you want to get into it right now? Or do you want to give me your... No, we'll just get into it.
Let's just get into it.
Right. Dogs of Third Earth. So this design, I went in a radically different way. Well, maybe not radically different. I think it's probably the future of how D&D is gonna go, and I think we may even get a piece of it, something like this, in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Yeah.
But basically, you choose your main breed identifier,
right?
What kind of dog you are. That gives you ability to score improvement in a choice of, and then
a choice of one of two abilities.
Yeah. So we have wild dogs. This is
self-explanatory.
Yeah, looks like wolves or foxes. Ears that are erect, pointy, and usually bushy tails. Size medium, +2 con. And you can choose one of the pack tactics, which is a standard ability that other creatures have. And deadly jaws, which is
typical bite attack with.
Yep. Now it is less than the lizard folk bite, but there's little italics there. Deadly Jaws is an ability that you can choose as a common ability.
Right.
And if you choose that with this,
it goes up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked it. Like, at first, when I first read it, I was like, well, why is he doing a grappled instead of a trip attempt? Because, you had wolves, and, that's a typical thing for wolves. Then I was like, no, he's going lockjaw and just grabbing on and not letting go.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And they're humanoid dogs.
Yeah.
Where the wolf trip attack is, I jump on you, bite, and my weight brings you down.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why I also left it at a D4 of damage is the special ability.
Yeah.
Which is, if you have advantage on your next bite attack if you have the target grappled. So it sort of builds on itself.
Yes.
And I thought just flat out giving it a D6 and that ability would have been too much.
Of course you can get that if you sync both your racial choices.
Yes.
If you really want to go down that path.
Yeah. But that's a heavy buy.
Yeah, it's a one-trick pony.
Yeah. Working breeds. Floppy ears and ropey tails.
Yeah.
This is your dog that can look like a Rottweiler.
Yeah.
Or a Mastiff.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing. +2 strength. Again, because you're a working dog.
Right.
And greyhounds, because that's why I have celerity.
Right.
Here as an option.
And you could even be a German Shepherd with this. They don't really have the floppy ears as much because they're usually trimmed to be pointed up, but they are a working dog.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Yeah.
And also Huskies, the Alaskan Malamutes, the sled
Saint
dogs.
Bernards, any of those.
Yeah. But celerity +5 to your movement speed. The base movement speed is 30.
Right.
Like everybody else.
It's the normal, and this puts you up wood elf level.
Yep. Powerful build, same as the Goliath.
Yeah. And when I was reading this one, because you sent me these so I could look through
Yeah.
them, so I'd have a little more than just first impressions,
Yeah.
I was thinking, those big Russian bear dogs, choosing the powerful build and being almost large size and being one of those huge ones where the full-grown people come up to their shoulder and just be like, "Rawr." I thought that would be a fun one to play with that.
Yeah. Our next category is toy.
This is
Small, floppy ears, big eyes.
Jack Russell Terrier, Chihuahua,
Um,
teacup poodle.
Yep, your Dotson.
Yeah.
Size small.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our small size race option. +2 decks.
Yep.
Because they can get in and out of places. And then you choose one of the two following abilities. Silver Tongue. Proficient in both Deception and Persuasion.
Yep.
This is the puppy dog eyes route. Or Comforting. You are proficient in Insight and Perception. This is the emotional support animal route.
And for puppy dog eyes, I would almost rather like that's really cool. Anytime you get extra skills, that's great in my opinion. I love skills. I love having lots of skills.
Yeah.
But I would have almost rather for the puppy dog eyes almost like the cringe for the kobold, but instead of cowering and groveling, you look up at them and they just make a will save against with charisma or
My first design of this actually did have something like that.
Okay.
It was it was a will save or be charmed.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Corgi is toy. Yeah, they're a toy breed, as far as I know. There might okay. In the scope of this, they would be a toy breed. I believe they probably show under the hunting dogs.
Well, yeah, but
and an AKC sort of thing.
I think technically so do dachshunds because they were meant to go down holes and chase rabbits and weasels and things like that.
But so this is also why it's kind of a big departure from most 5th edition race design choices, because each one you get it's 3 different primary abilities for your +2, where normally 5th edition is choose your race, that gives you your +2,
right,
and then your sub race gives you a +1, where this is your primary race gives you a +2, but there's 3 options.
Right.
But the next thing you do is choose a status heritage, and this is basically your place within the pack, within the family. And again, you get a choice of ability scores to improve, which is kind of a big deal. For Aquila, so the alpha, the leader.
Yep.
You get strength or charisma. So the Aquila is working towards paladin.
Yeah. Or just barbarian if you go working class for the +2 strength and then take a +1 strength and just get a +3 to your strength.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or if you choose the wild dog and con and strength,
Yeah.
So either you can go.
Intimidating growl. The target has that you can see and can hear you. They don't have to see you.
Yes.
That's an important. That's why I worded it this way. So that you can be looking out through an opening or a crack, see somebody and growl.
Looking through the fence hole.
Yep. They must succeed in a wisdom saving throw or become frightened for 1 minute. DC is 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus charisma modifier. And the creature can repeat its save at the end of each of its turns. This is also, that wording is also important because the other potential environment that I imagine this in is somebody casts darkness.
Oh. And you're one of the races or one of the classes that can see in darkness.
Yes.
You imagine.
So now you can growl. Yeah.
Warlock. Double sight. Cast darkness. Growl.
Yeah. And now the person can't move really.
Yes.
Because they can't move closer to you, but they don't know where you're at. Or relentless endurance, which is the same as half orcs.
Yep. Half orc.
Drop to 0, go to 1 instead, once per long rest. Cub. So this is the subordinate position to the boss.
Yeah,
basically. Wisdom or Dex. And this is because, in my mind, this is maybe not the primary hunter, but the distraction.
Gotcha.
Or the one that's on the wings. So they have pack tactics.
Mm-hmm.
And they also get intimidate and growl.
Okay.
From the position that they can sometimes be in the leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
Or because maybe they're not as strong, their bark is worse than their bite, as it were.
So if you have 2 of these, they can see in magical darkness. You cast darkness and growl from one side, growl from the other side.
Yep. The Jester. This one is
so playful.
Yes, this is the Gamma. Sometimes is what it's called in the pack. This is the one that diffuses conflicts in the pack.
Gotcha.
Con or Charisma. Con because the Jester usually gets beat up on.
Right. You're the whipping boy.
Yeah. And Charisma because if
you're
breaking up,
if they're the peacemaking.
Yeah. So Wink and a Smile. The friendship cantrip that can cast it without. That should be material component. Or no, maybe I said without components. For a reason too.
Yep.
But again, that's the double-edged sword of the friendship cantrip too, because after you're finished sustaining it, they know,
and they're hostile.
Yes, which also fits with but grovel, cower, and beg. This is the kobold.
Yep.
Thing, which is also why I didn't do that for the toy. And I also wanted for the toy, I didn't, because there are certain players who will value skills over an ability like that. I wanted to make both choices for toy skills.
Yeah.
To make the choice meaningful rather than always, because there are certain players who will always do this.
Yeah.
And always.
Most definitely.
So yeah. Our next one is Thinker. +1 Wisdom or Intelligence. And this one was based on sort of like rescue dogs, or like dog breeds that have a reputation for being smart.
Yeah.
And also, in the cartoon, this is all based, by the way, on the 2014, I think, cartoon. I think that's the year of release. So it's the updated one.
Okay.
But not the chibi one. The one starring Matthew Mercer.
Yeah. And Will Friedle was in that.
Yes, that's Tigra. Or
I think so.
Anyway, but curious, you are proficient in investigation and perception skills.
Yep.
And then knowledgeable, you are proficient in 2 of the following skills: Arcana, History, Nature, or Religion. And feedback I got on this as I solidified it and started play testing, one of the criticisms I got was it was too much choice. But I think for those 4 skills, they're very closely linked.
Yeah.
They're all intelligence based. Or no, nature might be wisdom.
No, those. Yeah, I believe those are all intelligence.
Yeah.
In 5th edition.
Yes.
Survival is wisdom.
That's right. But yeah, so I wanted you to have the choice, especially because depending on class choice and class skills,
right,
this gives you a little bit more of a broad knowledge base as opposed to a more narrow one.
Yeah.
And then after you've chosen those 2 and gotten your ability scores and your primary abilities, you get to choose 2 from the following list of abilities. And this is a long one. Some of which we've already talked about, because some of which are breed specific. So celerity.
Yep.
+5. So that means if you do the working celerity and celerity here, your speed's 40.
Right. And then you're a centaur.
Yeah. Companion. Add your charisma modifier to saving throws of your allies that are adjacent to you. As a reaction, you can grant an ally within 30 feet that can see or hear you a saving throw to end an effect that a save can end. Once you use this reaction, you cannot use it again until you have finished a short or long rest. This is that companion animal, emotional support animal.
Support.
Or the or even like not even emotional support, but actual like disabled dogs.
Like Saint Bernards, you're going out finding people.
Well, yeah, but or any dog. Like one of my friend has a brain injury, and she got a dog, and it's been a lifesaver for her.
Oh, okay.
Like some dogs will sense that you're having a seizure and come and before it even really comes on. That's what this is.
Okay.
And it's also, and I based it on the paladin ability.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Instead of 30 feet, you have to be adjacent.
Right.
And I think I don't know if it's Oath of Protection, but I think one of the oaths you can grant that saving throw. Yeah.
So now, question: if you choose the companion and you are a paladin, do people adjacent to you get double your charisma modifier to their saves?
No, because it's the same kind of bonus.
Okay.
So that goes to the general rule 1.5e that the same bonus doesn't stack.
Yeah.
So if you're a paladin, this just goes to 30, basically. Well, so a paladin companion basically has their 6th level ability from 1st level, just adjacent. And then once they hit 6th level, now it's 30 feet. And even if you don't have the ability,
the correct oath, you have that ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question. Deadly Jaws, again, foreshadowed in our discussion from above.
Yep.
But this also allows all dogs to have a bite attack if they want. Keen Smell. You have advantage on perception or survival checks that rely on smell.
Yep.
This is from the wolf stat block.
Several animals have it. Yeah. You'd be a thinker dog with the bonus to investigation and perception, and then grab this, and then observant, and be the ultimate tracker.
Yeah, just walk in a room. They're there. Natural camouflage. This is
Wood elf.
Yeah. It's the wood elf ability. But I wanted to give it to him. And I thought about limiting this to being in light armor or less.
Mm. Yeah.
And mostly because in my head, this was more about like your fur coloration,
Right.
coloration pattern, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I didn't do that. Scavenger. This is a fun one.
Yeah.
For me.
This
Anyway.
is your fox, your coyote,
your street dog. This is your tramp.
Yep.
You have resistance to poison damage and advantage on saves versus poison and disease. Because you're eating things that other things don't want to put in their mouths. And that's all of them. So yeah. Did you have any other character build ideas when you were reading this initially?
I definitely thought about the tracker and the Russian bear dog, and with that I thought I didn't put together the warlock with the growl and stuff until just now on stream.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Yeah. So those were the main ones that I thought of, though. So
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think in the new, I think we are going to get something like this.
Yeah.
Either with Tasha's or in 6th edition D&D, where it's not going to be.
And I'm still, part of me still thinks we're going to see a 5.5, like we did with 3rd.
Well, I mean, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything's 96 pages, 22 subclass options.
Yeah, it's basically 5.5.
Yeah, and they're changing. Well, they're giving you optional rules for your race stats or background stats.
Which is the play test. It's the Tome of Swords, so to speak.
Yeah.
Was for 4th edition. And I think we're gonna move to something like this, or okay, Tosh says, I'm making a toy thinker rogue who needs jack of all trades now. Yes.
Yeah, because that would basically make you trained in almost everything. Because you 2 from toy, and
you get deception, persuasion,
2 from thinker.
Yeah.
No matter which way you go, so that's 4 skills.
4 skills
plus 4 from rogue. That's 8.
And expertise.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Throw in the skilled feat at 4th level.
Yeah. But
or take a 2-level dip into Bard and get the jack of all trades.
I mean, that's sort of a waste, though, because
first level dipping, 1st level Bard is going to give you another skill.
Yeah, but at that point, that's now 9 skills. 9 of the 13.
8 plus 2 from background, so that's 10 right off the bat.
Yeah,
at 1st level.
Background. Yeah.
Out of 13. Yeah, you don't even need jack of all trades. No. You just need skilled, because that gives you the last 3 that you didn't have before. So yeah, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, a toy thinker. Yeah, yeah. That'd be a fun character too. And actually, my daughter made. Well, she actually made cats. Actually, in the playtest, I made a couple dogs. To be in her party, to build up the party of 4 for her. But yeah, but in the cartoon, the dogs are presented as much more diverse,
right,
than the cats, which is also one of the reasons why I went with this
style.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think we're going to see something like this with the new racial overlay, whether it's like you said, Xanathars or not Xanathars, Tashas or sixth edition, where either like this or you know, maybe like this is kind of a fifth edition version of what Pathfinder did in second edition.
Yeah.
It's a little more spread out because there's not the multiple primary stats bonuses. But I think we're going to see this, and then what I'm hoping that they take from Pathfinder is the universal sub races. Give every race sub races, and then give universal ones. So like Tiefling and ASMR and things would be a universal sub race that you can just apply over any base race.
Yeah. Anything else, or do we want to go on to Araku?
I think we're ready for Araku.
All right. So,
do you want to give a brief explanation of Araku for background?
Yeah, I think that's probably where we should start. Araku is a setting I designed to do a bit more sci-fi stuff, and it's heavily inspired by Dune and Warhammer 40k. Araku is a twin planet system, so two identical planets, tidally locked to one another. There's a moon that orbits the pair of them.
Now, does it? Because I've not actually played in this set.
Yeah.
Does it orbit around both of them, or
Yes.
does it figure eight through them?
No, it orbits around both.
Okay.
It orbits around the very center of the planets, and it zips around. It takes the equivalent of 28 days for the planets to complete a rotation. And the moon takes about 30 hours to complete an orbit.
Okay.
So the moon is actually the day, and the day, the sol, is a month.
Gotcha.
And they have their seasonal cycle is the sol, the day-night cycle. It's largely a desert planet, but the native races of the planet are Dragonborn and Kobolds, dragons, Tieflings. Tieflings take the place of the Fremen, essentially. Culturally, they're very much like the Fremen. And they worship the sandworms, just like in Dune. They're sacred animals. The dragons hunt them. The dragons are their natural predators. Dwarves are also native. And then humans and halflings were a part of the same fleet.
Right.
And elves and gnomes a part of a fleet. And the two fleets were fighting, and they crashed. The exact reason for both fleets being basically destroyed, and it's been 300 years and no one's come, is a mystery. It's lost to time. I mean, I know why, but yeah. So, and I've run, I think 6 games now, but I hadn't really, the first few, the Dragonborn and Kobold thing, I hadn't put together yet.
Right.
That's a recent development, which is, you can read here, Dragonborn, Kobold, and dragons all hatch from the same eggs.
Yep.
That was sort of my eureka that I had, and it was, I think it was a Facebook thread that I was in. It might have been Twitter, but anyway, in this discussion, it came to me. I was like, oh, it was a discussion of, do dragonborns hatch from eggs? Or do they have live births? And I'm like, well, it says in the player's handbook that they hatch from eggs, just like dragons. And I was like, well, in kobolds. And then I was like, it was sort of a, what if they were the same species?
Egg. Yeah.
And it's just a phenotype expression based upon environmental factors. Because in many species of amphibians and reptiles, temperature determines sex. So Araku has dust, which is, in 4th edition it was residuum.
Right.
Which is sort of how they got around that you could transfer enchantments and how you made magical things.
Right.
It was distilled mana, basically,
Right.
solidified. And dust is basically that. It is a magical power source. But again, it has Warhammer 40k, well, Warhammer in general, influences. So the dust is actually corruptive.
Okay.
And I have a corruption mechanic for, and you can get positive mutations and negative mutations, but thus far I haven't played a campaign long enough for that to matter too much. So, but so yeah, that was the important thing. And I thought, you know, if I make dragonborn kobolds and dragons all the same species, the design for kobolds in 5th edition as a player option is insufficient.
Right.
It doesn't, to me, it doesn't have the draconic flavor at all. So that's where this comes from. And also, I wanted them to keep the sunlight sensitivity.
Yeah.
And sort of, I was running a campaign set in the desert, and it was a native city,
right? Basically,
so it's tieflings and dragonborn have lived here for a long time. Well, at least since Planetfall, anyway, when the invaders forced them to unite.
Right.
But I like the idea of there's a community of kobolds who basically just sort of dwell underneath everything. And that's also a similar space that the gnomes and halflings had in the fleets.
Gotcha.
Because of their small size, they were basically the maintenance engineers of
going through
both
the
fleets.
Work.
Yeah. So yeah. And the kobolds basically they're sort of the younger sibling that never grows up, or that aren't allowed to grow up, as it were. So, but ability score increase, +2 dex, +1 to 2 others from intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, and a -1 strength.
Yep.
This choice, which is different than the book, Kobolds and Volos.
Yes.
Because dragons are casters, I wanted that to be reflected in a way in Kobold stats. And so that's why they have the 3 casting stats to choose from.
Gotcha.
is to reflect that natural inborn magic abilities, which also comes in later. And I also liked keeping the -1 strength.
Yeah.
Even though a lot of people refuse to play Kobolds because they have that negative stat. But to me, it just makes, because Dragonborn get strength,
right?
And like not just
they get strength and charisma.
Yeah, and not just taking away the bonus, but giving them a negative is very strong narratively.
Yeah.
So, age. I don't remember if this is in.
Yes.
Is it in Volos?
That's
okay.
That's their 5th edition lifespan.
Yeah. Alignment.
Or 7 minutes if you're Chris Perkins.
No, 11 days.
Oh well, in world 11 days, in game 7 minutes.
Yes. How long do kobolds live? 11 days. How old are you? 11 days. Yeah, great. Basically the same sort of size parameters.
Yep.
Speed's the same. Dark vision. And then Draconic Ancestry. This is my big change.
This is where we're new.
Choose a type of dragon from the Draconic Ancestry table. It determines your special movement and damage type that your Draconic Endurance affects. Draconic Endurance is based off of Stone's Endurance that Goliaths get. But I wanted it to be more impactful, but not mechanically stronger maximally.
Yeah.
Which is why I changed it from a D12 to 2D6.
Okay.
Because I thought it should be more reliable than a D12. But yeah. So once per short or long rest, if you take damage associated with your Draconic Ancestry, you roll 2d6 plus your con mod, reduce the damage by that amount. It is in a single situation. Well, it's always going to be less beneficial than resistance that Dragonborn get, because it
depends on what the damage load is.
Well, so long as it's over 24 damage that's incoming, it's going to resistance will be better.
Average, say 2, so 14, so 28. Because if you think plus 2 con.
Oh, it's fair. Yeah.
But I mean, if it's 10 fire damage and that's your thing,
and that's where it's better than resistance.
Yeah,
because it's straight up. I take no damage.
It's like, all right, that's fine. Wait, why'd you get burned?
Yes.
Just run up the rope. I can't.
Yep. And Draconic Ancestry, straight out of 5th edition.
Yep.
PG. But so there is an extrapolation on this table. And all these movement types are from the monster manual. These are all special movement types that dragons of these types get.
Yeah.
Except one. Silver. Silver does not have a special movement type.
Gotcha.
So I added one, and it was basically swim, burrow, or climb were the 3 movement types I'm working with. And white has swim, so I didn't want it to be the same as white.
Right.
So, and burrow doesn't make any sense for silver dragons. So climb makes sense. They like to layer high up, just like white dragons do.
Right.
So
No, yeah.
So that's the one change from that's not in
Right, and it also differentiates them from gold. Not that fire cold are opposites, but that they're the two big metallic dragons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And then the next ability they have is Draconic Sorcery. At first level, you choose a cantrip from the Wizard or Druid spell list. And I made it those two to expand, because Wizard is pretty, there's a lot of choice there.
Well, Wizard makes sense when you think of dragons.
Yeah.
They're arcane creatures. So.
Yeah. But I wanted Druid in the choice list because I want them more in tune with the natural world.
Yeah.
And I want them to have a little bit of social oomph.
Yeah.
And having those two lists to choose from gives you more, I think.
Yeah. So you get a cantrip at first.
At third level, once per day.
You get a first or second level spell.
Yep. And you cast it at second level. This is on par with all other racial casting.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is I give you a choice of first or second level.
Yeah. And you're choosing the spell rather than saying you have this spell.
Right.
Which I like because they're all different colors,
Yeah. To say if you're this color, you get these. Yeah. I was like, you know what? No. I want it to be like, I want it to be random. Not
diverse.
Right. I want it to be diverse.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then at fifth level, once per day, you get another second level spell from the Wizard or Druid spell list.
Right.
So, and again, it's in line with all other racial casting.
Yep.
And then we have the optional stuff. And this was fun to put in. So, Winged Kobold, they are in the monster manual. And I love the idea that even though kobolds don't have resistance, they're sort of looked down upon. Dragonborn can't get wings.
Yep.
And so I wanted to have that as an option for the kobold.
Yep.
And tieflings give up their magic to have wings.
Yep.
So I was like, that makes sense mechanically. There's another way to do it. There's a parallel. That's the option.
Yep.
And then the other option, which gets them closer to both the player version and the monster manual, is pack tactics.
Mm-hmm.
You give up your draconic endurance to gain pack tactics.
Yeah, and I can see a lot of people wanting to go with this. Pack tactics is probably more reliable than the draconic endurance.
Yeah.
Because you can force it to come up.
Yeah.
You can't force what kind of damage you're going to take to come up.
Right.
Unless you're very particular about who you pick fights with. I mean,
yeah.
If we're going to be honest.
Yeah.
But, I personally, if I was making a kobold, would probably take the winged option, but keep the draconic endurance. Just to play that flavor of I am a dragon.
Yeah. Because that to me is probably one of the more fun ways to do it, because at that point you can fly, and depending on your class choices, you can eventually get dragon breath.
Yeah, I was gonna say, a warlock would be fun because that gives you limited magic, but one of those can be a breath weapon, and a breath weapon 3 times a day because that's all your spell slots. that feels like a dragon,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
With a low recharge ability.
Yep.
You know?
So, and I ran a short campaign when Critical Role was on hiatus in Araku, and I wanted to test these. That's why I was doing it. So I said everyone has to be either a Dragonborn or a Kobold. Here are the Kobold specs. Only one player chose to play a Kobold, but some of the things that he did with his Kobold were awesome.
Oh yeah.
And it was Alex. But because they have, I think he was a red. Yeah, I think he was red. So you had to, and no, he wasn't a winged kobold. He did have his spells. But he was a ranger.
Yeah.
And a Gloomstalker ranger, actually. And some of the things he did to avoid sunlight was hilarious. And he made use of his climb speed in a couple encounters. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they do have sunlight sensitivity.
Yeah.
As the kobolds from Volos have, and Monster Manual. And again, this is the sort of the idea that they are forced to live underground. Now, on Araku, they get basically 14 days that they can be above ground and not be in direct sunlight. Well, it's about 10 days. Because it's seven whole days of darkness, and then 4 days on either side of twilight.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Any observations?
No. I mean, I really like your take on kobolds. I would play one in a heartbeat. I love characters that have flaws in the sunlight sensitivity, the negative and strength. I mean, I played a character in a one shot when you're one shot with a negative constitution modifier.
Yeah.
So I think it adds to the character rather than takes away.
Yeah.
From a role play standpoint. Yeah, mechanically it takes away from the character, but does everyone have to be superhuman at everything,
Yeah.
Or proficient at everything? I think it would be fun. I think it would be... I mean, I typically with draconic things choose green, especially if you're going to get a breath weapon like the Dragonborn dude. I just like the idea of poison,
Fair. So, if you're a green Dragonborn or a green Kobold, you can take poison spray.
Yep.
As your cantrip.
Yep, and just flavor it as from your...
So you're constantly just...
Yep. I mean, that would even be worth it to me to take the wings and then the magic initiate.
Yeah.
And choose poison spray.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think if there's anything that I missed.
And actually, that might be fun. Do the dragon with the wings, any of the kobolds with the wings, and get magic initiate because you can get ray of frost, firebolt, anything.
Yeah, and I think his red kobold ranger, I think he had firebolt.
Yeah.
For the idea of it's his breath weapon.
Right. And but then be either like the Battle Master fighter or the Purple Dragon Knight fighter, and be like the dragon, the leader, the I say what people do, I am the authoritarian type kobold. I think that would be a really, really fun.
It wouldn't upset you that most people would ignore you or laugh at you?
No, I think that would be the great part of the gag. That would be the bit.
Yeah.
Go do this. Go. Like the brownies in Willow.
Yeah.
I'm in charge of this expedition.
You've been drinking. When you're drunk, you forget. I am the leader.
We go this way. North is that way. This way. I would play something like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a really fun character, and just be the sidekick to somebody else, but act like I'm in charge, but do the Battle Master stuff and give people the ability to move when they listen to you, or strike when they listen to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not just saying this because I'm saying this. I can actually help you if you listen to me.
Which creates a fun dynamic when you're traveling with, a couple of Dragonborn, a tiefling, and people witness your exploits, and they see these people doing what you tell them, and it's sort of their brain, what?
I think that would be an amazing character concept.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I don't know, I'm making it sound like I'm forcing them into this caste system, and it's not like that exactly. It's just sort of the social order on Araku is there were these entrenched things in all of these cultures before.
Yeah.
Everything, the ships crashed, everything went to hell. There's like 100 years of constant fighting where the invaders are killing each other, they're killing the natives.
Yeah. It's a systemic thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where things had to change for everyone's society had to change.
Right.
For anyone to survive. So, but there's still these underlying things. It's one of the central tensions.
Yeah. All right. So we've got half a party already. We've got my kobold fighter, battle master. We got Toffinator's toy thinker, rogue. So we've got the skills. We've got the leadership.
Yeah. I don't have it typed. Do we want to go over the Thundercats? We have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
And this shouldn't take long because the design is such that it will go quickly, and I don't think you need the text to follow, because they're set up very much like Tabaxi.
Yeah.
Where all Thundercats get +2 dex, 30-foot move speed, dark vision 60 feet, Cat's claws, and Cat's talent is the only thing that changes.
Yeah.
Because that is determined by the kind of cat that you are. So leopards and pantheras get perception and stealth proficiency. Leonid and saber-tooths get intimidation and persuasion.
Okay.
And tigers and domestic cats get athletics or acrobatics and stealth.
Okay.
So you get stealth and one of those other two.
Right.
Leonids, +1 charisma.
Makes sense.
And they have roar.
Also Makes sense.
All allies within 30 feet gain temporary hit points equal to your level plus your con mod.
Okay.
And you can do this your charisma modifier times per long rest.
Okay.
And this is basically right out of the cartoon, Thundercats Ho.
Yeah.
Panthera plus 1 strength.
Okay.
And they get relentless endurance. Again, same as the half orc. Leopards get plus 1 wisdom and feline agility.
Okay.
So that's the tabaxi thing.
Yep.
Where you can double your speed for a round.
That's Chitara.
Yep. Sabertooth, plus 1 strength and bite attack, 5 foot reach, 1d6.
Okay.
Plus strength. And tiger, plus 1 strength, and invisible stalker. As an action, become invisible until the end of your next turn. Attacking does not end your invisibility. You can do this once per short or long rest.
Okay.
And this is both the old cartoon in the 80s and the new
Right.
one, Tigra.
Yep.
And because
Wrapping himself in the whip and.
Yep. So I just made that all tigers can do that. Domestic. This
Wily
is what.
Kid, Wily Cat.
Yep. This is what my daughter played. Plus 1 charisma, and disarming gaze. As an action, force a creature to succeed on a wisdom saving throw. 8 plus your proficiency plus charisma, or be charmed by you for 1 minute or until they take damage.
Yeah.
You can do this once per short or long rest.
Yep. The orphan wave.
Yep. And this is we say puppy dog eyes, but this is the cats.
Yeah.
You know. And they
the Puss in Boots.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And Wily Kit and Cat in the cartoon do that.
Yep.
And Panthro's like, that's not going to work.
So is Snarf just a fairy dragon familiar then?
Yes. I forget. My daughter and I were joking about that. Because she was debating whether or not trying to get one. But she basically based her characters on Wily Kit and Wily Cat.
Yeah.
One was a rogue and one was a bard.
Okay.
Because in talking about it, I was like, yeah, that's what they are. She's a bard. He's a rogue. And yeah. So. And we only got to play the one game. But yeah, and there are other creatures, and like there are bird folk, but I have my Egyptian races, and the Thothku and the Raku fit what we see in the show.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to use for that.
Okay.
You have like I think there was a couple other ones that I was like, yeah, this is easily this, and easily I have there's this. Oh. I designed Robert burbles, but I don't think I actually have those handy. But we're out of time anyway, so maybe next time we do one of these. But thank you guys for joining us.
Yes.
We will next week be discussing Critical Role episode 107.
Yeah.
Traveler Con is my bet for the title of that episode.
Okay.
But yeah. In the meantime, we'll see you guys next week.